Hi, and welcome to SPED Homeschool Conversations. We are having another week on our broadcast, and we welcome our guest, Monica Irvine from the Etiquette Factory. I'm so excited to have her here tonight. If you don't know anything about the Etiquette Factory, you definitely have to check out her website, and I'll be sharing that with you in just a little while. But Monica is a certified etiquette instructor who owns and operates the Etiquette Factory. She's a master motivator, a dedicated instructor, and she loves to help kids see the benefits and rewards of good manners, which she says is more than teaching them how to use just the right fork. So we were experiencing some technical difficulties, and I'm so glad that you are joining us. And so Monica's going to join us via phone, and I'm hoping that my internet stays up throughout the entirety of this show. If it doesn't, then we're just going to have to cut short, because that's the only way we can broadcast. So we just welcome you, and definitely as we're broadcasting too, make sure that you write questions in the feed, because I can see those and I'll be able to convey them to Monica, and we'll try to answer them throughout our conversation here tonight. But our main focus for this evening is making and keeping friends, which I think for our parents, Monica, is one of those topics that we kind of stress over, especially if we have kids that don't always fit in, or they are socially awkward in the first place, and how do we go about that? So I'm excited to have you here tonight. And the first thing I wanted to ask you is, how did the Etiquette Factory come about? Because it's awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, welcome.
Well, it actually started years ago when I was homeschooling my youngest son, and we were studying about George Washington and his life. And that's when we discovered that when he was around 13 years old, so the history books say, he was invited by his teacher, who was his minister at the time, to focus on learning some chivalry skills. His tutor thought that would just really benefit his life for obvious reasons.
Right.
And so we really don't know who the author is of these lessons, but many of you have read the Rules of Civility and Decent Behavior. And it's a list of 110 chivalry skills that George Washington wrote out. All we know is that this list of 110 chivalry rules is in the Smithsonian in his handwriting. But when I read those, I was just so impressed. First of all, they're beautiful. They're written in that old English. But I also, being the mother of 3 boys, was like, you know what? My boys could sure use some chivalry. And of course, I knew and know how much it can benefit people's lives. And I thought, okay, if George Washington memorized or learned these 110 chivalry skills, surely my boys could learn maybe one a week or one a day, kind of like we, memorize scripture. And I thought, surely that would benefit them. But really, that's what started the Etiquette Factory. I started looking for something that kind of outlined teaching in this manner. And, I'm a homeschool mom, so we like it simple, short, sweet, little daily lessons. And I couldn't find anything like I wanted. So as the story goes, I just created my own. But that's how it started.
Well, that's great. That's how we start a lot of things, isn't it? It's just one thing builds on the other, and we end up doing something we hadn't even planned on doing, and God works it all together for His good, definitely. I was very impressed looking at your website, actually kind of a little overwhelmed, because you have so many resources, and they're all good. I think as a parent, I'd have a hard time if my kids were younger picking where to start, but I know you have a lot of good things, and you have curriculum that takes families step by step through each of the things that they should be working on too. So that
we do, and so often we just started out with just this basic curriculum. It goes, it's basically 3 levels, and it goes pre-K through high school, but what would happen is families would go through a part of the curriculum or even all of it, and then they'd be like, okay, what else do you have? We want more. We want to make sure that we keep talking about it year after year. Because what we try to help families understand, and we all do it, is most parents, most of us, tend to teach manners and life skills when we're correcting bad behavior. It's not that we mean for it to be negative, but it's just that we see our kids do something and then we're like, oh, honey, that's not polite. And then we try to teach a better way. And so what we have found is that if you just make learning these skills part of your school day, just that you talk about it when no one's in trouble, when no one's getting fussed at, when our children's hearts are a little softer, ready to listen and learn instead of defensive because they're getting in trouble. That's when real learning takes place. And so we just, we keep creating more resources just because we have found that if parents just keep the conversation alive year after year, it makes all the difference. So
right, I saw that you even had resources for life skills for teens and also for dating, and so if you do start out when they're a lot younger, it's not going to seem so awkward to jump in the middle and change how you're approaching teaching those skills. That's a very good point.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Although we get plenty of middle school and high school kids that start out with the Etiquette Factory. Because no matter how old someone is, when it comes to social skills, you kind of, even though the skills really don't change. I mean, I teach kindergarten, 5 and 6-year-old kids pretty much the same skills that I teach adults. We go to a lot of businesses and teach
I saw that.
etiquette to adults. It's just a more mature conversation the older the child or human being is. But the skills, for the most part, don't change. So regardless of how old a child is, they can just start where they're at. And what's been, I guess, surprising to me, to be honest, I knew parents would be excited that there were these resources. What probably I didn't fully realize is how much kids would have fun and enjoy and appreciate learning these things. And, I never really thought that kids would just think it was so fun, but they do. And I find that fascinating. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I grew up with a lot of, I guess my parents would, after my son was diagnosed with Asperger's, they looked at me and said, yeah, that's you. Because I trained myself how to talk to people. And what a benefit it would have been to have somebody teach me how to do that. Because I struggled so much through school and young adulthood, just trying to figure out the social nuances that I knew existed, but I could not quantify. And
Right.
And so I think, for kids, especially on the autism spectrum, that, can't read expressions, are so sensory bound that they can't focus even outside themselves. If you give them the tools to at least be able to start thinking about those things, that opens a gateway for these kids to be able to function.
Does. Yeah. In reality, so I don't have any personal, none of my children have been diagnosed on the spectrum, but when I developed the Etiquette Factory program, I developed it just in a manner I wanted the kids to learn the way that I learned as a kid. And I just posted something about this today. I just wasn't very academic as a child. I struggled. I don't know if I had a learning disability, but I know I really struggled. I struggled with reading comprehension, and I struggled really in all subjects to remember things. But if I could see it, if I could play with it, if I could make a rhyme or a song, those types of learning, then I would remember it forever. And so when I developed the Etiquette Factory, that's what I did. one of the reasons that it's so much fun is because we use music and we use games and stories and even food to teach these skills. Well, when we started selling it, what was exciting to me is I started having parent after parent who have children on the spectrum come up to me and just, first of all, they were so excited that there was such a product, but then as we started selling the products to these families, I constantly get emails and letters and phone calls, and people come up to me at the conventions I go to, and literally just this past weekend, a lady with a daughter with Asperger's came up to me and she said, I just was looking so forward to seeing you this weekend because I bought your life skills last year, and you have changed my daughter's life.
Oh,
she
wow.
said, she never really got it, no matter how much we, would talk to her about little social cues and all that. But for some reason, watching these videos that are so popular with children on the spectrum, our Life Skills 3 program, she said it was like every day was a new light bulb moment. And of course, that is so satisfying and makes me so happy. I didn't know that. I didn't know that was going to, I didn't know that the curriculum was going to be so appealing to, to children on the spectrum, but nothing makes me happier to know that that's healthy,
Right. Yeah. You do what's in front of you, and God blesses it and broadens your scope just by being obedient. And I know Jan Bedell had introduced me to your website and said, you've just really got to get a hold of Monica, because she sends a lot of people to you, I think.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. So,
well, I know we wanted to talk about friends.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, and so let me just give you the definition. Because once again, when I developed the Etiquette Factory, I developed it for all children. And, one thing that I just am fascinated personally with is that, when you think about it, what parent on this earth doesn't want their children to be polite and kind? All of us as parents know, when you've lived long enough, you realize that the more kind you are, the more likely you are to have friends and to have positive relationships. But what's so fascinating is that if we have all of these parents who want their children to be kind, why are we living in a less kind society? I'm just so intrigued by that. And what I believe we're living in a less kind society because we have stopped being purposeful in teaching our children these skills. I think most people have a desire to be kind. I know I wake up and I want to be kind, but what I've learned is that kindness for most people requires skill. And the more skills you have, the more kind you can be. Because the definition that we use for etiquette at the Etiquette Factory is etiquette or manners is helping those around you to feel valued and comfortable. No matter what we teach, whether it's a table manner skill, whether it's respecting other people's personal space, every lesson is based on how does my behavior, my actions, both spoken and unspoken, show the people around me that I value them. And so what we try to help students understand is, okay, when you do this behavior, what unspoken message did you just send? And then we say, okay, if that's not the message you wanted to send, what if we send the message by doing this behavior? And so our videos, most of them show the incorrect and the correct way to demonstrate each skill that we teach, like honoring other people's personal space, respecting other people's personal property, introducing yourself properly. And so the kids love it because the wrong way is kind of funny. But what's interesting is when we see the wrong way, even us, most of the time we'll go, okay, yeah, I've been guilty of that. I've done that. But then we don't realize, then we'll go, you know what, but I never thought that doing it the wrong way was sending those messages to people around me.
Exactly.
So I think that's what's exciting for children, especially children on the spectrum, is we really try to help them understand that they're sending a message. We all are.
Right.
And to ask ourselves, what message am I sending? And the more we help them be aware of that, then the better choices they can make.
Exactly. And you're teaching it to them in, like you had said, when we first got started, was it's not a reaction to their bad behavior, but they're seeing somebody else's bad behavior and seeing it in themselves. So they can, it's kind of removed a little bit, so it's not as self-condemning, but you can still put yourself in that scenario enough to relate to it. And that's, a lot of kids that are on the spectrum, that is something they can relate to more than being forced into a situation where they have to react and think about how to react all at the same time. So that definitely makes a lot of sense. And I love that, to show others that you how are you valuing them or not? That's something we just don't teach anymore. And I think as parents, we get really frustrated, and as a society, etiquette is a lost art, and we get frustrated, but we don't know why we're frustrated. And like you said, the kindness, I think, has just gone out the window, and that's what we're missing, but we have no idea we're missing it, or we don't realize that we want it.
Right. It's true, because our heart, we don't have an intention of being rude. And neither do our kids 95% of the time, right? I mean, usually that's not the intention, but
exactly.
I'll use table manners just as an example because it's relatable. But for instance, if I sit down with my family at a table and I start eating like a little pig, I start chewing with my mouth open, I start smacking my lips. Maybe I sit down and I eat in 3 minutes, I'm done, and I get up to leave when other people are really just starting. Any of those behaviors sends a message to the people around me that I'm there for one reason and one reason only, to feed my belly.
Right.
And I really don't care if I make you uncomfortable or gross you out or send you a message that I'm not interested in communicating with you because I just ate and ran. And so that's what we don't realize, that we might not mean to send the message that we don't care about the people we're eating with, but when we eat like that, that's exactly the message that everyone hears.
Right.
And so that's what we're trying to get to the root of, is let's make sure the message you're sending is how you really feel. And most of the time, when other people think we're being rude, we don't mean to be, but we're not putting enough thought into it about what messages we're sending.
Yeah. It's there's so many unspoken messages that we don't even process, and we learn by example. And I think, even my parents, I remember rushing through dinner. And so it's been generations in some families, now that etiquette just hasn't been valued, or the way our society has sped up so quickly, it's been an easy thing to set aside because it isn't valued as much. And productivity is more so. So you have to concentrate. As I'm listening to you, I'm thinking this has to be a priority for a family to really make an effort to make this matter, and to really see the fruit of working with your kids. If you want to see them increase in these skills, you definitely have to put in the time and the effort and the value, and make sure that they understand how much you value it.
Yes, and we try to make it really simple. Our lessons are little 5-10 minute a day lessons where they just learn one little skill. And what I've learned is, for instance, for all children, introducing themselves to others, sometimes just greeting others is sometimes really hard for many children and even some adults. And so with skills like that, we break those down into really simple steps so children can focus on the steps. And sometimes when they focus on the steps, it takes the scariness of the whole thing away. For instance, when we teach children how to say hello and greet others, we teach them the 4 steps that they have to smile, they have to make eye contact, they have to have a strong voice, and sometimes they're going to have a firm handshake. And we practice those 4 different steps over and over again until the children have enough confidence that they know how to do it. And we play games like the first one who looks away first has to sit down or loses a point. And we let the kids make up crazy names just to practice introducing themselves to each other. And it is very rare that I have a child, even an exceptional child, that comes to one of our camps that I cannot teach those very basic skills of introducing themselves to others. And so we try to help parents. So we don't want anyone to be overwhelmed, but we're like, hey, let's just work on one little skill a day. And then next year, we'll work on one skill a day in a different way. And you just keep at it, and pretty soon it becomes a way of life. And you don't have to think about it. The more you practice it, it just becomes what we do.
Right. Yeah. You just program yourself to do that. So we're talking about making friends and keeping friends. What would you say would be the foundational skills to making friends that kids need to learn? Well, adults too. As we've talked about, we all start out at the same place.
Well, it's really kind of the head of making friends. It's really what we've been talking about. I guess how I would answer that question is to pose the question, why is it that, let's think for a moment on who your best friends are, the people that you most love to spend time with and to hang out with and to talk with. And then as you think about maybe 1 or 2 people, think about what is it about them that makes you enjoy being with them. And I would imagine some of the first thoughts that would come to all of us. Maybe children have a harder time. Maybe a child, if I were to pose this question to them, may have a more difficult time to put their feelings about this into words. But they feel the same way we adults feel. And as us adults think about that question, more than likely we would think of things like, well, she really listens when I talk. She doesn't or he doesn't hog the conversation or it's not, they don't seem to have to take all the attention in the room onto them. They're very sharing. They share their time. They share their things. They're very generous with themselves. They value my opinion. They value the things so it's those same qualities that us adults appreciate about others is what our children value too. We all want to be treated fairly, loved, to be listened to feel like we matter. And so as far as helping our children to make friends, especially
Sorry, we're having some technical difficulties.
A little bit more with social cues. I think it's so important that we work on one character trait of a good friend, each week. Like maybe, and let me give you an example of how this would work. Maybe this week we're gonna work on being a good listener and sharing our talking time. And how might I teach a child to do this? Well, the etiquette rule is that it's polite when we have conversation with others to never speak longer than 2 minutes without passing the torch to the other person. Now, this is just in casual conversation, like with our friends and our family.
Right.
And so we get our timer out, and we
Those are wonderful things.
what it feels like to talk for 2 minutes. So, for instance, I might ask my child, okay, why don't you tell me about your favorite dream you ever dreamed? And we're going to set the timer for 2 minutes. So after 2 minutes, when you hear it, I want you to then ask me a question about my favorite dream. And so you start to practice with your child how to take turns in conversation. All of us know what it's like to try to get away from someone who never stops talking.
Oh, yes.
And that affects friendship. We might love someone, but if they never let us have get a word in,
right,
sooner or later, we're going to start avoiding that person. So that's just an example of the kind of skills that we as parents can help our children learn to help them be a better friend. And there are real skills that are involved in that.
Yeah, definitely. And we, a lot of times kids that are on the spectrum also don't have a linear ability to track time. And so they can be on a subject for almost an hour and not realize it's gone by, and not realize that they've taken up the conversation for that long. So to have that timer, and a lot of parents do use timers for a lot of other things, but I've never quite put that to this, your talking time is up, and now give it over, and then you can have it back. That's a great way to teach them how to break up those conversations and allow someone else in. I love that.
Well, and it is, and I'll tell you something else, and it's something that sometimes I see parents do, and I understand why they do this, but I will see parents correct their children in front of others. So, for instance, let's say I do have a child on the spectrum, and they do have a hard time knowing when to stop talking, for instance. Well, so we're going to practice that scenario I just gave you. We're going to practice that at home, just in our own private way.
Yep.
And we're going to practice that until we get better at it. However, obviously, when we're out in public, we can't set our timer. So maybe that's when mom and child, parent and child, come up with a signal.
Yep.
Just a signal with a finger, maybe a touch of the wrist, like where a watch is, or a touch of the nose. And that way, and then you practice using that signal in the privacy of your home too.
Right.
So then when your child, you're out in public, your child knows what that means. If mom puts her finger to the nose or to her ear, then, oh yeah, okay, I've talked for 2 minutes, I need to now pass it to the next person.
Right.
And so those are really helpful ways because we don't ever want to embarrass our children.
Yes.
We don't want to say to our child in public, okay, now you talk long enough. Let's give other people a chance, because that's humiliating. And so we want to be real careful not to do things like that in front of others. Yeah.
My son and I had, I put my hand on his shoulder because he needed a physical touch, and that was enough to go, oh, okay, that time is done. And we did that for various things, or when he was doing other things he wasn't supposed to be doing. But yes, to not correct them in public as much as you can, and to work on those skills. I mean, they were a lot of work, but they do pay off. I mean, my kids are now graduated and on their way out. And it definitely was worth all the work. My younger daughter, she always says, you mean they really did fight all the time? And I was like, oh yeah, they did. And now, I mean, my one son is home from college this week, and my boys sat at the table and talked for an hour and a half last night. And they used to just be about wringing each other's necks. So
I bet that made you so happy.
it does. Yes. I mean, it's amazing. And you think when you're in the heat of it that this is never going to end, but I promise you it will. You just have to keep going and keep working on it. And I love that you have your lessons laid out so succinctly for parents, because like I talk to a lot of parents who are homeschooling children with special needs who themselves struggle with that, and to be able to take your curriculum and say, oh, we can work on these together. I don't have to know it to teach it. We can learn it at the same time.
Well, for sure. And, one of the most common remarks that I get is parents come up and, kind of in a little whisper say, I'm so embarrassed at how much I learned through this curriculum. And, I'm like, that's nothing to be embarrassed about. It's just, it's a reality that if you were not taught, most of us, it doesn't come natural. I know some people are more kind of perceptive about their behavior. That's true, but I just, time and time again today, it's so common today for people to come up and look at my curriculum and go, you know what, I was never taught these things, and so I really don't even know what to do myself, let alone teach my child.
Right.
And I'm like, well, that's what we're doing. We're trying to help parents start making it a priority again.
Yeah.
Because the exciting thing for all of us is that it's truly, those who have impeccable manners and those who do not, that spectrum is getting very wide. So now when you and I, just happen to meet someone, young or old, who has really impressive manners, we're taken back.
Right.
Because it's unusual today. And we're just like, wow, where did this kid come from? And so the good news for all of these families who make it a priority is that your child is going to stand out for the right reasons the more they understand and practice and make these skills a part of their life.
Exactly. Sure. Yeah. And that's what your heart wants for your child, is that, people see the good side of them, and they see that, the qualities that you get the glimpses of, but can that come out more and more as they work on these skills, and can the rest of the world see just how special they are. Well, that's awesome.
I agree.
Yeah. So.
Well, I want to tell your families that because there are a lot of products on our website, if they have any question, they're always welcome to, when they hit contact us, that is an email that comes directly to me.
Okay.
And if they wanted to say, okay, I've got a 13-year-old son, this is his little background on him, what would you recommend I start with? So they're always welcome to just send me an email, and I will let them know where I would start. And so we can always guide them through what's available.
Great. And we have about 15 minutes left, and we've got some viewers on. So if you have any questions for Monica, definitely type them in to this feed, and we'll be able to see them. I can put them up on the screen and read them. So I'll give you a couple minutes to do that. I just want to go through, we talked about a little bit about the things that you had on your website. I know that you also have a game that looked like a lot of fun called Blunders, and it looks like it's something that you just play to kind of review etiquette skills.
Well, okay, so I am going to give you some bad news.
Oh, no.
On all the products that you picked. That game, which I love, has recently, that's not my game, I didn't create it, but it has recently been discontinued. And we're so bummed about it. But, so yes, that game is actually, in fact, I'm kind of surprised that because it's not supposed to be shown on our website.
Oh no, well it still is, so you know that it's still there and you can remove it.
Yeah. I'm like going, oh, I actually see that. Yeah, it's that. And just for people's information, they can still probably find, it is a great game. It's called Blunders. And they probably still can find it on Amazon for a little longer. So for sure, it's a game that targets children ages, I think it's perfect for ages 5 to 10.
Okay.
And it's a really fun game where the Blunders family is being kicked out of the neighborhood party because of their bad manners. Oh. So they have to answer some manners questions right in order to go to the party. So for sure, tell your viewers, to just look on Amazon. I'm pretty sure it's still on there and probably will be for another couple of months until they sell all of their inventory. But definitely a good purchase, worth the purchase.
Yeah. Now you speak at quite a few homeschool conferences. What do you have coming up this season? Where are you going to be?
Well, I actually am speaking at 25 different conferences, so kind of all over the country. Tomorrow I'm headed to Fort Worth, Texas, to speak at the Great Homeschool Convention. The following week I'll be at the Teach Them Diligently in Arkansas. And then, it's just kind of one city after another. We'll be in the Alaska at the shows. But we just kind of hop around, and I usually post the week of where we're headed on our Facebook page, the Etiquette Factory Facebook page. So people can see us there. But and when I go to these conventions, I speak on several different topics. Some of the most popular topics that I speak on is, of course, I speak on raising girls and boys to be ladies and gentlemen. But I also speak on disciplining our children without breaking their spirit. That's probably the most popular workshop that I do. I speak on schedules, how to put your family on a schedule, and the benefit of schedules. In fact, on our website, we have an ebook. It's only $3. That is our schedules workshop in an ebook format. And that's a great book. It's very short, a short little read, and it's got some great resources in it. I get so many parents that come up and say, I'm not a scheduled person. In fact, we homeschool because I hate schedules. But I've got this child who really, I think, needs a schedule. And so that's a common comment that I get from parents. And so I teach how to create a schedule and the things that must be on your schedule, and how a schedule gives your family freedom to have more family fun time, freedom to have more date nights and one-on-one time with your children. And so anyway, for those people who feel like they could use some advice on scheduling their family, that's a great read. And then I teach workshops on, dating and courtship for ladies and gentlemen. And we have a great new book out for teenagers to read with their parents to make sure that parents and teens are on the same page when it comes to dating. So often, parents have this one thought process of how it's going to go through the teenage, quote, courtship years, and then the teens have a whole nother idea of how this is going to go. And so this book really helps unify and provides all of these discussion questions to help parents and teens make sure that they're on the same page, to bring unity and to make sure we eliminate conflict. So I talk on all kinds of topics.
Great.
But that's a joy.
Okay, well, we have a couple questions. So I'm going to read off the first one here. And it says, do you or how do you address stranger danger or giving too much personal information to someone they just met, such as an address? I guess this is coming, from a child. How do you help a child to know those boundaries?
Right. Well, that's a great question. And of course, that is a conversation that has to be ongoing as our child matures. We continually continually educate them. However, most of the time, our children, when they're, let's say, under the age of 10, maybe under the age of 8 for sure, are usually never alone. They're always with parents. And so as long as your child is with mom or dad or another, adult that they know, they should always feel very free to greet anyone. For instance, I wanted my children, when we went through the Walmart checkout line, to say, hello, how are you doing, to the clerk. When when I introduce my children to friends, to people at church, to just people that we meet on the street, I absolutely expected my children to look them in the eye, smile, and say, hello, my name is Sawyer. Because mom is right there, because there's not a worry of danger, because they're not alone. And my children never were alone until they were old enough to be alone. Of course, as far as the stranger danger type conversations, that came when we talked about telephone use, which today, usually we don't have house phones, so our children typically are not answering parents' telephones anymore because of cell phones. But we always talk about, of course, how we don't give out personal information to people we don't know. I actually do a lot of work with victims of sex abuse, and I've been working with juvenile court in my state, in my city, for the last 13 years, and I actually, as a volunteer, investigate cases of abuse of children. And I will tell you that I don't know what the most recent statistics are, but it is family members and family friends that probably in the 90% or more, up to 95% of the time, are the ones that hurt children. It's very rare. I know it does happen, but it's extremely rare for a total stranger to abuse a child. It's much, much, much more common for a family friend. So I'm not saying that's not, of course that's important. But, our children should not be afraid to say hello and how are you, especially when a parent, is near them.
Right.
So I hope that answers that question.
Well, and Vicki said, or Amy had said that we've been working on it for about a year, but unfortunately the school had taught him how to say his address, but of course not when to use it. So unteaching is so much harder than teaching, and you just have to keep working on it. But like Monica said, let him be as friendly as he can possibly be, and don't try to be negative when he is overly friendly, because he's working on skills still. And
you don't want to crush that. You don't want to crush that little spirit who's innocent and trusting. We want to put off all the fear as long as possible, but of course we have to, be safe.
Right. Yeah. And as long as, like you said, they're near you, which they usually are, then to allow them that extra bubble of freedom. I love that, because I think we get so caught up in the fear part of it, we forget how much freedom that we have to be kind and to be outgoing in our society. And I think fear is a great motivator for that. It's not a good motivator, but it motivates a lot of what we do now in our society, and we just don't even think about that and how much it affects our interactions. I've got another one from a parent that asks, how do you explain to a child about personal space?
Well, so really, we really outline personal space. So now we have a lesson on personal space, but if I was just with my child at home, and I run manners camps for kids in the summer, and we use a hula hoop as a boundary for personal space. But the best way, most skills, the best way to teach any skill is to role play. I mean, I am such a believer in the power of role playing. So I think it's really great for mom and dad to get up. You got to be willing to be a little silly. You got to be willing to not worry about whether you look a little foolish. But the best way to learn things like that is for your children to see the wrong way, and for your children to experience how it's uncomfortable. And so what you do is you role play. You and your husband get up and you kind of do a little scene where you're in each other's space, and then you get your child to come up with you, and you're in the space. You're talking to them where you're an inch from their face and then 3 inches from their face. But they've got to experience, okay, where is it comfortable? What distance is it where we're comfortable when we talk to each other? And so you cannot be too specific. You can get a ruler out. And the reason you do things like that is not because your child's going to use a ruler when they're determining how close they are to someone, but when you pull out a ruler and say, okay, or a yardstick really, and say, let's be 2 feet away from each other, and where would we stand? When you just go through those kind of scenarios, that they'll remember that.
Yeah,
and maybe they won't know exactly, okay, am I supposed to stand 1 foot or 18 inches? That doesn't matter. It's an awareness. They'll go, okay, there was that ruler. We got that ruler out. And so you cannot role play enough. And so be specific. And because what happens is they fall back onto those memories of playing that out with you, and it will help. And so I role play everything, but we always role play the wrong way first, because number 1, it's funny. Right. Number 2, it's awkward. And it's how you get some laughs. And then you make sure and do it the right way. So,
that makes it more fun and enjoyable on their side, and they get more engaged. And the more engaged they are, then the learning happens, the more engaged they are. So definitely. We used to teach history that way. I would read, the history scenes and say, okay, act them out. And, my kids finally start asking, they're like, why are they doing this? And it's like, oh, so you realize now what's going on, instead of if you were just sitting on the couch and you weren't paying attention, but now you have to act it out. And they're going, I don't get it. And so, that it takes it to a different level when you have to use your body to get across to your mind a concept you're trying to embed in it. And so I love that.
So much. And then also, your children who kind of struggle, children who might struggle feeling a little awkward, those are the kids that they need to role play 50 times more than other children. But it's really important that they role play. Of course, we don't want role playing to be a bad thing, so it always needs to be fun. But it's so important that they role play words and phrases, because some kids that feel a little awkward or don't always know what to say, if they will, you as a parent can help them come up with their phrase. Like, for instance, there was a boy who was on the spectrum, and he did not like to be touched. And especially by people he didn't know. And of course, that had happened all the time. And it was so stressful for both him and his mother, because they never quite knew what to do. So sometimes mom would step in and say, oh, I'm sorry, doesn't like to be touched, which of course would
make the
other person feel awkward. And then it made them feel awkward. And then sometimes the little boy would get upset. So finally, they came up with a funny phrase and that he was comfortable in saying. And so what he did, he said, he would put his hands up at his side. It's kind of hard for me to express this over this telephone. Right, but exactly. He would say, no touching, no touching the body. And he came up with this little way that he said it. And he did that, and all of a sudden it took all the awkwardness out of it. because he came up with a little funny way to say, hey, I'm not comfortable with your hands on my body.
Right.
But he would say it like that, and everyone got the message. And the mom said, it helped me not so awkward anymore. It helped him not so awkward.
Yeah.
So whatever your child, whatever their little thing is, there's always a solution.
Exactly.
Through prayer and through brainstorming and just role playing until you figure out what actually feels right.
That's a good point. Yes.
You will be able to figure something out that your child is comfortable with.
And that matches their personality. And I think that's really what it's about. They can own it. And it's something that they can take into their, teen years and maybe even adult years in a different way, but feel validated that this is an okay way to handle how I don't really handle that well. Yeah, definally. That's some great advice. I think our parents will definitely benefit.
Funny, I think is usually always a good answer. It's like when we feel a little uncomfortable, usually finding a way to laugh about it is usually what puts most people at ease.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. My youngest brother, who suffers from severe dyslexia, is the funniest person I know. And I think that's really what got him through a lot of his issues, is that he could just look at it and say, you know what, that's just the way it is. And it's more hilarious from my point of view than yours even. So.
Right. Yeah. I like that.
So, that's awesome. I just thank you so much, Monica. I've learned a lot in our time, and I definitely want to put up your website here. It's theetiquettefactory.com if you want to check that out. And like Monica said, definitely go and fill out the contact form. Like she said, that'll go directly to her, and she can, if you have a question specific and say, well, I don't know where to start, I don't even know what we're doing, this is what we're dealing with, that she can point you in the right direction. And I thank you, Monica, that you are vigilant with helping people on your site. I know when I first contacted you, you were right there. So, but she does sleep, so you don't expect her to always be answering back.
Thank you.
So.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, I get excited. I'm excited to share it with people, and be glad to help anyone.
Awesome. Well, we just thank you for your time and just the effort that you put in, and just how much you bless families through. I would call it a ministry, definitely, that what you do, and I can see our families definitely benefiting from connecting with you and your resources.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It does feel that way, and I appreciate that. So thank you. It's been fun, and we'll have to do it again sometime.
We will, and hopefully we'll both have internet. I'm just glad my internet stayed up this whole time, because I didn't know what I was going to do otherwise. Well, thank you so much.
Everyone have a good night.
All right. You too. Thank you. And thank you for joining us on SPED Homeschool Conversations. We're here every Tuesday night if our internet works. And we just thank you that you've joined us. And if you didn't join us through this whole broadcast, it will be replaying on the support group for Infinity, and we'll also be breaking it up into smaller sections and playing some smaller bits on our Facebook page, the public one, and we'll also be publishing it to a podcast. And both of those longer video and the podcast come out on Sundays, and then the shorter videos come out on Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. So make sure to check that out, and also our website at spedhomeschool.com. And also know that you can support our ministry through Amazon Smile. Pick us as your donation charity. And this month, till the end of the month, they're offering a special. So if you sign up, your first purchase, we get 1.5% off whatever you spend. So if you have a big purchase coming up, like my son said, who is one of the interns that we pay off with the money that we make through donations, he said, make sure they're making big purchases. So, so if you have that tax return. But anyways, we just thank you for all your support and also for just being part of our community. Thanks and have a great night. Bye.